I am not late. I'm not late. Enough of that propaganda. I'm perfectly on time. Do you guys like this chapter? What the fuck was this? Is this the best fight we've had since, I guess, Wano? Tio Treviso, thanks to 5. I'll apologize for that joke super chat, basically casually calling, try to say you were Jinbei, so I want to apologize to Emu past video. Oh, water under the bridge, man. Don't worry about that, Tio. It's all good, man. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm not muted. I'm not muted anymore, right? I think we're good. This chapter was great. This was holy gray. Yeah, everything's gray, including myself. I'm gray. The background's gray. It's all gray. Yeah. Change the background color. Gonna roll with this. Need to put the posters back up. Yeah, I need to put the posters back up. Oh, speaking of posters, how could I talk about posters without letting you guys in on the best deal you could hope for? Look at this. If you liked Emu in this chapter, do I have good news for you? Time's running out, but you can still get the Emu poster, and we've got a ridiculous deal going right now. You can buy any 2 posters, in fact, any 2 character posters. Could be character posters or island posters or ships posters. You can buy any 2 and get 3 free. So any 2 posters you want from any of the collections, and you get 3 posters free. And you can make any of those posters whatever you want. You can get all 3 of the God Trio posters. These are all going away at the end of April. So Emu, Nidhogg, Nika, all gone at the end of April. But you can essentially buy any combination of 5 posters for the price of 2. So make sure you get in on that while the deal goes away at the end of this month. So no more buy 2, get 3. And these posters are gone forever. So say goodbye. These posters will be gone forever. So make sure you get your Emu poster while you can. I know that that's... Oh, shit. I know it's going to be hard to resist getting yourself an Emu poster after what we just saw this chapter. I wish I could. I would fill my wall with 10 Emu posters if I could. Tio Treviso, thanks for the 2. Morge gets another Emu theory wrong every new chapter. You just apologized to me, then you go to this? Wait, what Emu theory? What Emu theory? Oh, that emus... Wait, what's the Emu theory that got wrong? Is it... Is it... Wait, what Emu theory? That emus... that emu's deeper than we thought? What's the emu theory? I don't think I got an emu theory wrong necessarily. Oh shit. Sorry, hold on. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, wait. Emu was the only bad guy in the Void Century. Emu was the only bad guy in the Void Century? Wait, what? What? How's that disproven by this chapter? Wait, what? We did... What? I don't even know what to say about that. How about we get a flashback and then we find out. Morge having that generic ass ringtone is perfectly on brand, LMAO. Yeah, I don't get the point of people who put up phone wallpapers or ringtone or like personalized ringtones. I don't even change my alarm sound. There's just no point. It is what it is, you know? Reverend, thanks for the 2. Bonnie's powers are probably modeled after Emu. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think that they do pretty different things. The fact that he was friends with Joy Boy, that doesn't mean that Joy Boy was a villain. That doesn't mean Joy Boy was a villain. We need more information. Come back. The Void Century is clearly just Emu playing Puppet Master to control the Void, control the world. I think we actually need the flashback, man. That doesn't mean that Joy Boy was a bad guy or that he and Emu teamed up necessarily. Let's wait till we get the flashback, right? Also, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Tom, thanks for 2. Is Emu's Maki or Arlong's Blue Haki stronger? Arlong's Blue Haki. It was not. I'd have to write it out of the story. People are asking about Maki. Okay, so Maki's super interesting because it mirrors the idea of devil, like, Haki, obviously, is inside all living beings. So, if Haki's inside all living beings and Maki is inside all living beings, let me read exactly. Yeah, its power dwells in all living things. So it's really interesting to me because it's like Emu has Haki and Maki, right? Because Luffy, like, it's pretty clearly established that Emu also uses Haki, right? Like, Luffy is even talking about, Emu's Haki is so crazy. And we see the traditional black lightning stuff that comes out, right? But Emu's got that, but then he also has Maki, right? So the Maki's via Devil Fruit, it seems like. It's confusing stuff. Ison2339, thanks for the 5. My Zoro bros got cooked this chapter, man. They hyped an Omen Sword as Kokuto, and now they started doing Kaido versus Zoro-esque essays. Mihawk equals Emu's son, LMAO. They hyped an Omen Sword as Kokuto. I think, because I saw the spoilers, right? So I saw the spoilers. For those of you who don't know, those of you who are honorable, non-spoiler readers who want a pure virgin experience, right? For those of you, right? So get this. In the spoilers, for whatever reason, the spoiler people hyped up that Emu has a black blade. And so there was so much discussion in the spoilers, threads, or not thread, like if you just go on Twitter or whatever, there was so much discussion about the implications for Mihawk, yada, yada, yada. It turned out that Emu doesn't have a black blade. In the most technical sense, in this chapter, it did feature a sword that was visually black, but it's obvious it's just his Omen powers. So, Kaido versus Zoro-esque essays saying that Mihawk equals Emu's son, LMAO. I mean, why? If you're a Mihawk fan, why would you even want Mihawk to be Emu's son? I think that's pretty lame. I just generally don't like, isn't it cooler if Mihawk's just some dude? Because, put it this way, I think if we're looking at the world standings right now, right? If we're looking at world standings, the coolest thing you can say about Mihawk for sure is that he's not some Nepo baby, from what we can tell, right? Mihawk's not a Nepo baby. That's the biggest thing I think he's clearly got going from him, besides obviously World's Strongest Swordsman, right? Because, look, you can be like, well, Shanks versus Mihawk, etc. Shanks comes from the lineage of, like, the most... the peak Celestial Dragon lineage, and very possibly also the Davy Clan lineage. We don't have that confirmed yet, but it's very possible, right? So Shanks is some level of a Nepo baby. Obviously, fucking Blackbeard, Luffy, Garp, all these guys, Nepo babies, right? All D-Tribe spawn. Mihawk's just this dude. Why would you even want him to be Emu's son? That's pretty lame. I never think it's cooler to learn that, a character... Like, to me, Zoro was much cooler before we found out that he's just Ryuma's great-grandson or whatever the fuck. It's like, Because, look, I'm one of those people, call me crazy, but I take inspiration from stories, right? Zoro's a character that always stuck out to me from a young age because the drive is cool, right? The drive, the dedication to reaching the top, starting from nowhere, climbing the ranks, reaching the top, yada, yada, right? Like, that's really inspiring, right? And it's the idea, like, it wasn't a necessary part of his story, but it's implicitly part of his story that, it's just a nobody who is going to climb to the top through sheer force of will, right? Zoro's whole thing, little frog in a well in East Blue, doesn't know the world, yada yada, right? You know, I just think it's less inspiring when you learn that Zoro's just got those genes, you know? He's just got literally world's strongest swordsman genes, right? It's kind of like it draws there it neuters the real world inspiration effect to me a little bit when it's just like, yeah, you can be anything you want in the world. You can achieve anything as long as like you can become the best basketball player in the world as long as your great grandfather was Michael Jordan, you know? Like it's not as cool to me, you know? You know? Kobe Bryant, just through sheer drive, like just some kid out in Spain or whatever the fuck, just through sheer will and drive, got all the way to like the top of the NBA. His great grandfather was fucking Wilt Chamberlain, you know? Okay, so it's not some fucking kid out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, minor rant, but I do think it dilutes the story slightly. I don't think it's cool at all that Zoro's the son of, or whatever, from Ryuma. I think just the real world implications of like, you know, you can do anything is blah, blah, blah. Nemu692 says, but that is the real world. More realer than anyone can be anything. Yeah, but One Piece is a fucking story about dreams. One Piece is the least realistic story of all time. If I wanted to watch like a real world fucking story, I'd fucking watch Mad Men again, you know? Where everything's fucking shitty and depressing and characters' lives are messy and ugly. You can't, on the one hand, be this like super fantastical, magical, inspirational story where the power of dreams lets anything be possible, and then be like, okay, but the grand messages that we're giving here are also neutered by the idea that it only applies to Nepo babies. So if you're not a fucking Nepo baby, then just fucking don't read the story, you know? Anyway, if you think that it's cooler that Mihawk is Imu's son, you're not a real Mihawk fan. That's all I'll say. Thomas Davis 1340 is I'm sorry, I can't stop. It's just like, Mihawk, how'd you become the world's strongest swordsman? Was it just through hard work and grit? It's like, no, just good genes. Just good genes, man. My dad gave me the best sword in the world. He just handed it to me when I was a kid. You see these eyes, these hawk eyes? Yeah, you can't train for that. You're just born with them. Thomas Davis 1340, thanks for being a Yonko. Thanks for joining the Yonko, man. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. Tiptio Treviso, thanks for 2. I'm saying it was Joy Boy and Emu fought Davy Jones. I mean, maybe. Then say that. What's the theory that got... There's no theory that got disproved. You just got a new theory, which is basically like, I think Joy Boy and Emu together fought Davy Jones. Maybe that's possible, but let's wait and see. Grizzly Adams 8277, thanks for the 10, man. Emu's omens are such a cool looking fighting style. Reminds me of Soul Eater and Fire Force. Also, the leakers trying to turn Nemesis into Mihawk gas are a bunch of liars. I think they were setting up the Mihawk fans with that, so I think that was trolling a little bit. So it is what it is. Yeah, and for Emu's omen thing, it reminds me a little bit of... I don't know if I haven't watched Soul Eater. With Emu's omen, it reminds me, honestly, kind of like Naruto's truth-seeking balls. You know what I mean? Like, the techniques that Naruto and the Sage of the Six Paths and Madara and Obito all in the endgame were using, right? So it's like these little black orbs that can be manipulated to do anything, right? So, not anything, but, you know, if you need a shield that's unbreakable that can block any attack, it can become that. If you need an offensive thing that'll just tear through someone, it'll do that. If you need, like, all-purpose coverage, like Madara turned it into a sphere. That's what they kind of remind me of. Tiptio Treviso, thanks to 2. Maki is the Haki of Emu's Devil Fruit. Yeah, so does Emu have crazy strong Haki on his own, or is the Maki what Luffy is sensing? You know what I mean? Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Retro Records 28, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 43 months, man. Holy shit, that's 3.5 years of support. Thank you so much, man. Hey, Morge, great fight this chapter. It's great that Emu has a different power set from everyone else in the verse. Potential new power system. Watch out for this Tuesday's video. I talk about that to some degree. I don't get into I talk about Maki to some degree, but it's a more comprehensive video on Devil Fruit powers in general. But yeah, really cool fight. Imu's abilities are just absurd. They kind of break the rules of how One Piece abilities work in a lot of ways, but obviously that's very exciting. Keith X Edge 21, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 19 months. Imu's sword looks similar to Yoru, I guess. But he doesn't have a sword. I don't know if this is trolling or not. I guess the sword that he creates, it does look similar to Yoru, or it's made to look similar to Yoru right there. So I would agree. I would agree with that. It does look visually similar to Yoru when he creates it, but he doesn't really have a sword, you know? Like the sword isn't, it's just him doing stuff with Omen, right? Kind of like he doesn't really have this like swinging flail thing. He just creates it with Omen, right? Joyboy SGLS. Let me move a little faster. Thanks for the 5. I love this arc so much, bro. If Oda sticks this landing, Elbaf is top 3 arcs for me. Even if the ending is no better than Egghead, it's still top 5. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I wouldn't say top 3 just yet, but it's easily... Elbaf right now is probably my favorite arc post time skip, for sure. I said probably right now, for sure. I'd say right now it is my favorite arc post time skip, but the ending really matters because Egghead... I'd say right after Kuma's flat... No, you know where Egghead was just like peak for me? It was when we hit this... Like, so all... This was such an amazing run in Egghead where first we had all of the crazy Hachinosu raid stuff. Amazing. Then we had the Reverie stuff with Sabo, Imu, all of that, right? We had the Shanks Kid stuff. So this stretch was amazing. Then we cut back to Egghead, where we're getting all of this stuff. We're getting the Buster Call. We get Luffy versus Kizaru. Then we get Saturn revealing his Zoan form. So it's like, holy shit. Then we get the fucking Kuma flashback, right? Amazing stuff. And then after that, we get Luffy versus Saturn and Kizaru. So the hype is just growing. And then finally it peaks to me when all 5 Gorosei arrive in their Zoan form. So like that was like the crescendo of Egghead, where it's just like, amazing outside world hype. Then the Battle of Egghead begins and it's good. Then one of the best backstories in all of One Piece. And then finally we're getting to the finale where like all of these crazy Gorosei Zoan, like it's just like hell on earth arrives, right? Amazing. At that point in time, if you'd asked me, I'd be like, Egghead, no question, one of the best One Piece arcs, period. It was trying to worm its way into my top 3, 4, 5, right? I'm not saying that the rest of Egghead was not good, but I would say that I don't think quite as highly of Egghead. It took it from like a 10 right there, but then for the rest of Vegapunk's speech and the way it played out, I'd say I dropped it to like a 9 or something, a 9 or 8.5. Like still a really great arc. I still think Egghead's a great arc. But do you get what I'm saying? Where it's like a lot of One Piece arcs are phenomenal, and then maybe the climax section is maybe not quite as strong in some ways. I would also look back at Whole Cake, whereas we're in Whole Cake, I think a lot of people feel like Whole Cake reached its peak with the Tea Party, and then everything after the Tea Party, like a lot of people feel like Whole Cake could have ended with the Tea Party, right? If you go back to chapter discussions and stuff, people really thought that Whole Cake had pretty much wrapped up here with the Tea Party, and that from here on, we're good to go, and people were very satisfied with the arc. I was satisfied too. Everything post Tea Party, Luffy versus Katakuri was good, but then like the 4 other ongoing storylines kind of dragged. And so, again, Whole Cake kind of went from like a near perfect arc for me to like a bit weaker depending on the conclusion. Still really good. I still really like Whole Cake, still really love Egghead. But that's where I'm at with Elbaf right now. Elbaf right now has reached that sort of phase where we're clearly in the climax, right? We're clearly in the climax. Oda's dropped this huge bombshell with Imu on us. He's done the flashback. He's this is kind of equivalent to the moment in Egghead where Oda dropped the Gorosei on us, right? It's just in Egghead, I personally feel like the stretch after the Gorosei arrived was weakened, not quite as good as you might have hoped. Let's see what he does with Imu here. There's so many directions this can go. Again, if you watch my latest video, I don't even think the Struts need to lose here or anything like that. I just want it to be exciting. I don't want Oda to undercut or undermine Imu as a villain. That's all I really ask for, and beyond that, I'm good with whatever plays out here. So if Oda sticks this landing, Elbaf is top 3. I think I'm at a point where like I don't want to predict where an arc is going to end up for me until I see the conclusion, because the conclusion matters quite a bit. Even if the ending is no better than Egghead, it's still top 5. I think I need to wait and see. But I really love where we're at. I just said that we need to pick up the pace, and I took a long time with that. Surreal Soviet, thanks to 5. Imu's speech this chapter feels like an inverse of Roger's chapter 100 quote. The tenets of freedom versus the tenets of dominion. Great point right there. Love that point. I need to go back and look more closely at everything Roger said there and kind of line up one-to-one everything. That's a great observation, man. Justin, thanks to 2. What's up with Maki all of a sudden, and what is it? I think it's going to be a dark type of Haki. You know, like, I personally feel, if I were to, hold on. I'm going to save some of it for a future video because I need to look at translations, and there's people I go to for Japanese translations to get some context. But a lot of it, I think you can also parallel it to Rayleigh's explanation of how Haki works. To understand kind of what Maki is. I think Maki is like a dark side of this. I'm just curious that it seems like Imu uses both Haki and Maki. So I'm wondering if like only through Imu's Devil Fruit can characters use Maki, or is there other characters in the world that are capable of using Maki, you know? Taptio Treviso, thanks for the 2. Is Imu going to be Zoro's Haki training arc into Mihawk? I think that Zoro is not done yet. I think Sanji is not done yet, you know? I think that these characters are not done yet. Sorry, someone brought up... yeah, oh no, never mind. Yeah, I think Zoro's not done yet. I think Sanji's not done yet. I think that the characters we've seen go down are going to have a better showing soon. Okay? I think, yeah, you can't really get much better training than Imu. And the fact that Imu pulls out swords, I think that we will get, you know, some clashes between Zoro and Imu potentially with swords. Taptio, thanks to 2. Kobe Bryant's father was an NBA player, so was Steph. I know, but that's why I said examples like Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan, not like fucking Del Curry, you know? Like, no one really cares if your dad is, like, I don't even know the name of Kobe Bryant's dad, right? He's a nobody, right? Zoro's the descendant of fucking Ryuma, the greatest swordsman of all time, right? Roger is presumably, like, the D tribe all speaks for itself. They're all fucking Nepo babies from top to bottom, you know? Shanks, nothing to be said. Obviously, the Figarland plus potential Davies. You get what I'm saying? Like, big difference there. Not really the same thing. Pool of Dead 3088, thanks to the 2. Do you think Imu and Joy Boy equals Hashirama and Madara? Do I think Imu and Joy Boy equals Hashirama and Madara? Maybe. I think maybe. I think also maybe Imu might have been... it might be an Orochi Odin type dynamic as well. Like, I don't know if they were like friendly rivals or what. Taptio Treviso, thanks for 2. One Piece is very realistic in how shitty real life is. It's not nearly in the same regard. And if anything, One Piece tends to conclude storylines with lots of positivity and unrealistic, fantastically possible resolutions. You know, like every single arc, it's like, the kingdom's bad, but we just beat up the bad guys, and once we beat up the bad guys, everything's good and happy again, right? Like, even shit like the whole concept of Dressrosa that they say multiple times is like, the citizens are like, you know, under King Riku, we didn't have that much money, but we were all happy. We didn't need for much or whatever. We were all just happy people. It's like, like, you didn't have much money, your economy was shit, but it was just a culture where money wasn't a big thing, so everyone's happy. It's just like, this isn't realistic stuff. One Piece is like the farthest thing from, like, actually trying to teach the brutalities of reality. You know, it will teach in terms of like what things could be, like, oh my god, genocide, slavery, etc. But it also says that everything could just magically work out, magically work out in the end. You know, Henchme987, thanks to 2. Is it too basic to give Griffin the Griffin fruit? I think that'd be pretty basic. Thomas Davis, thanks for the 5. The way you talk about disliking Lineage is how I feel about how Nika has changed Luffy's character. Also, my membership got randomly canceled before, lol. No worries, man. Thanks for rejoining. I appreciate it. how Nika has changed Luffy's character. I'm trying to give a very long leash in terms of like seeing more and more of Luffy as Nika before I make too much judgments. Because again, I like the concept of Luffy's abilities being like this. It took me some time to come around to the idea that like Luffy did always feel like the underdog early on, because the point is that the rubber fruit is not inherently a very powerful fruit. It's a pretty mundane run-of-the-mill fruit, right? But Luffy found lots of ways to make it a lot better. That was, for me, a big appeal of Luffy's character for a long time. Once the Nika abilities were revealed, I came around to the idea of like, okay, this is who he can be at his full potential, yada yada. He's actually just been this god this whole time, right? I'm on board with that. I like the abilities. They fit his character. I preferred when Luffy didn't have a broken fruit, but, you know, it is what it is. I like the fruit. It's a mixed thing, right? Like, it's a love-hate thing. I like the powers of the fruit. I feel like it fits Luffy's character really well. I miss how I used to view Luffy, personally, as, you know, little rubber boy rather than sun god. Big difference there, right? In perception. And I think that, what do you call? The other thing I'd add about Nika in terms of like, you know, like, I want to see how Luffy acts in situations that are very dire, like the Emu situation right now. So I want to make sure that Luffy's true personality still shines through. The one thing, like, if I think about this a little bit, one thing that I really enjoyed about Luffy pre-time skip, not just that he was the underdog, but just like he goes into arcs without people having expectations for him. And kind of like the idea is that Luffy always surprises people everywhere he goes. It's like, oh, just this random kid with a straw hat, like just this goofy little kid or whatever. Oh my god, he saved my entire island. He defeated fucking Crocodile. He dethroned God, stuff like that, right? I liked that aspect. I think ever since Luffy became Nika the Sun God, now it's kind of like he's walking into every arc with everybody just treating him like a god from the get-go. Like it's not surprising anymore for character. Like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you're just the chosen one. Of course you're going to save the day. Of course you're going to do this, right? Like, we see this from Egghead onwards, and it's definitely been the case in Elbaf, you know? It's no longer... I think I enjoyed the process of, like, seeing that sort of shift from, like, people viewing Luffy at the start of arcs as just, like, this kid, and then by the end of the arcs viewing him as the chosen, like, as this amazing savior who can do anything. I think I liked that part of Luffy's character and the effect he had arc after arc a bit more than now, where it's kind of like he walks into every arc with characters being already viewing him as like this amazing savior who can do anything. And it's like, you know, Vegapunk, Kuma, all these characters in Egghead, obviously the giants show up. They're just like, Luffy, you're the sun god. You're like the best. You're amazing, yada yada. And then Elbaf, obviously, from the get-go, they're just like all viewing him as this amazing sun god type character. I think I liked it the way it was before, personally, just because everything Luffy would do would be a surprise and surpassing expectations. Now it's kind of like the simple expectation is that he's the sun god who can solve anything. Trello does things. Thanks for joining. I appreciate the support. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morge, as much as I like Emu and love this chapter, I can't help but feel like Oda copy and pasted Madara. I'll follow up with what Emu does well. I think we need more to see from Emu to say that he's a copy-paste of Madara, but it is kind of the route you go with these sort of, like, classical villain types, you know? Like, there's a certain vibe and persona that fits for them. In terms of philosophy, I think we need to see more before, like, oh, it's like Madara or whatever. But, you know, you've seen this sort of archetype of villain many a time before. But it's always pretty cool to see as long as it's done effectively. And I think so far it's being done effectively. Momans101, thanks to 5. Emu echoes Madara, but darker. His fight with Loki shows dissociation and complex trauma. Oda studying trauma to create a deeply traumatized character. I think the few lines that he drops here are interesting. I still want the Viz translations, but I'm definitely not getting into... I'm not going to give Emu a bunch of props for depth here, for sure, because it's easy to drop like a few lines, like have a villain drop few cool badass lines. To me, I'm thinking back to the Kaido situation, which is like Kaido dropped a lot of really interesting quotes and philosophies over the course of his storyline. At the end of the day, his backstory was shit, right? So I think there's a long ways to go to feel like Imu's like this darker version of Madara or something like that. E-Legend, thanks for the 5. Hi, Morge. This is unrelated to the chapter, but I just finished watching Lord of the Rings and just started Game of Thrones. Are there any shows you'd recommend after this? I mean, I'm watching The Sopranos right now. I don't think Game of Thrones is that. I think Game of Thrones is phenomenal for its early, like, for most of its seasons. It's towards the end that it's a lot of time investment for an ending that you will almost definitely find very disappointing. And with Game of Thrones, it's tricky because it's like, you get invested in so many characters and plot lines that it's like, wow, every single one of these is ending shittily. So it kind of feels... I wouldn't recommend it. I'm always going to recommend Breaking Bad, Mad Men. I'm watching The Sopranos right now. I really like it. I'm in season 3. Damn, I'm like close to halfway through. Yeah. Yeah, I would recommend those shows. Honestly, I would recommend fucking House of the Dragon. I think House of the Dragon is really good. People say House of the Dragon Season 2 is really bad. Or, no, not really bad. People critique House of the Dragon Season 2. I agree with the critiques to some extent, but I still think House of the Dragon is significantly better than most shows out there. For sure. And The Pit, just finished The Pit Season 2. I think that's really strong. Basim El Madawi, thanks for the 5. I feel finish out if you're gonna finish out Game of Thrones before you watch House of the Dragon, because you'll enjoy it more if you've seen Game of Thrones. Basim El Madawi, thanks for the 5. I feel like Emu and Joy Boy are two sides of the same coin. Both grant wishes, but Emu twists it like the devil would while Joy Boy is more benevolent. That's an interesting take on it. And I think that could play into Emu and Nika's abilities respectively to some degree. Also, let's get the stream likes to 100 because we're almost there. Taptia Treviso, thanks for the 10. Your Emu tricks 20 Kings on how the entire Void Century, the only true bad guy was Emu all along. Ancient Kingdom was good. 19 Kings were good. Emu just manipulated them. Now Emu wasn't originally the bad guy. What do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What is the... what are you seeing in this chapter that suggests that there's... You know this is all from Emu's perspective, right? I think we need a lot more to determine that the Ancient Kingdom was evil. What is... I think we need a lot more to determine that the Ancient Kingdom is evil. You can circle back when that actually is something that's confirmed or suggested here. But if you want to use this chapter to theorize that Emu and Joy Boy teamed up to fight against Davy Jones, that's like a perfectly valid theory. But there's nothing in this chapter that suggests that, like, that's definitely what happened. This gives us stuff to think about. Pool of Dead 3088, thanks for the 5. The Void Century Pirate Kings were Vinsmoke, Romeo, and Natsu Draghawk. I think when you got Vinsmoke, Romeo, you don't need anyone else. You don't even need another wing. Vinsmoke, Romeo is good enough for 2 wings. He's a 1-wing wonder. You can fly around with just Vinsmoke, Romeo. No one else needed. Random Guy JV8CJ, thanks for the 5. There was a charmed early One Piece when we thought Strauss were just a ragtag group from Backwater Sea disrupting the balance of power. I'm personally always just going to be more drawn to that type of story. Also, I completely forgot to give you guys the link to the deal. So let me drop that. Obviously, again, the Emu posters are going away soon. They are going away soon at the end of April. You can buy any 2 posters and get 3 free, so you can get a shit ton of posters for like just the price of 2. And Emu, Nidhogg, and Nika are all going away at the end of the month, so make sure you get that while you still can. And the deal in general goes away at the end of the month. So let me post that for you guys. Completely forgot to pin that. My mistake, you all. What was I saying? Yeah, I personally liked it earlier when the Straughts were always surprising people. That's just my preference. That's my preference. hold on, where are we at? Okay, Words and You, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 41 months, man. Yo, Morge, very random, but did you ever read Cage of Eden? I did. I remember it being one of the first mangas where I realized stories could be bad, lol. If not, what was the first manga you were disappointed by? Okay, so Cage of Eden, really cool premise. I loved Cage of Eden. It's one of those manga where it sucks you in with a really cool premise. It's a bunch of students who end up washed ashore on a mysterious island, and it becomes a survival thing, and the island has all sorts of really strange mysteries, I suppose, kind of like Lost, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, and there's questions about where they are in time and stuff like that. There's so much juicy mystery. I'm thinking the right thing, right? Cage of Eden. Yeah, Cage of Eden. Yeah, and it's really, really draws you in, and then you get to the ending, and the reveals are so bad and make the entire story pointless. So bad, so disappointing. The first manga that I was disappointed by, okay, my initial big five, right, were One Piece came first, right? I was into One Piece, and then after that, One Piece, Bleach, and then Fairy Tail, Naruto, Kenichi. Those were my five earliest series that I really loved, okay? I wouldn't say I loved Fairy Tail and Kenichi, but those were the five that I would read weekly, all right? During this time, I would read other series like, let's say, Cage of Eden or whatever. Cage of Eden does stand out as a particularly terrible ending, so that does take a place in my head. It's damn, manga can have really bad endings. But I think one by one, all of the series that I was into, Bleach, Naruto, Fairy Tail, and Kenichi, all really bad endings. I think Kenichi's ending was kind of fine. It's just so much stuff and kind of messy that I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just Kenichi was never that great of a manga, so it's kind of it has a okay ending for a fine manga, The rest had bad endings. So I'd say slowly, bit by bit. I think Bleach, with Bleach, actually, I fell off after the Aizen arc. I thought that I didn't even think that the Arrancar arc had a good conclusion. I thought that was a very disappointing conclusion, or a very lackluster conclusion, very unsatisfying to me in a lot of ways. So for me, I almost felt like that was Bleach's ending, in a sense. And everything that he kind of did after it, I was just burnt on. I was not burnt. I was just I don't even think this is good. It's just whatever. I feel like Bleach concluded a lot of what it needed to already, or a lot of the appeal of the story. So I don't know. And then Naruto had a poor ending, but I was never the biggest Naruto fan. I don't know which manga was the one that first hammered into me that damn, some manga can end really poorly. I really don't know. Really don't know. It was one of those four probably. Cage of Eden is a striking example though. Death Note didn't have the best ending. I think it was rare to even think of a series that had a strong ending. Oh, you know what? Prince of Tennis. I like Prince of Tennis's ending, even though Prince of Tennis isn't a good manga. It's for its standard, right? Which is just a dumb hype shonen tennis thing. Its final parts are the best, I think. Pool of Dead 3088, thanks to the 5. Still see people argue Kaido greater than Loki after this chapter. LMAO, Kaido would not be boxing with Emu like this. I just think Kaido versus it's just a bizarre discussion to me because it's so direct. You know what I mean? The comparison is so direct in that Kaido basically is Loki. All of their moveset and abilities are pretty damn similar. It's just Loki's is better in every single capacity. Clearly significantly better in every single capacity. So there's not much argument. And then in terms of everything, in terms of feats, Loki is clearly got much better feats, right? In terms of you can take everything that they can do on paper. Loki's is just 1-to-1 way better than what Kaido can do, right? So it's just kind of the cleanest point of comparison you can ask for. So I just don't really get the argument there. Um, like I'm trying to think. Like I would get the argument more if you're comparing like Loki to, I don't know, something like who's a character maybe like Prime Whitebeard, right? Like let's say you wanted to compare Loki to Prime Whitebeard. I think then maybe you could have an argument because maybe like obviously Loki is above Herald and all that, and maybe Whitebeard was also in his prime above Herald. I don't know. But like the point is like Whitebeard does different things. Like Whitebeard's got the Guru no Mi and stuff like that, and maybe you think Whitebeard's got better hockey than Loki, stuff like that. But like with Loki versus Kaido, it's just looking at like Kobe Bryant versus Michael Jordan. Like it's too similar. One's just better, right? In every single way. And then on top of that, even if you just remove from paper, it's like feats. Loki has way better feats than Kaido. Kaido's feats are worse with every passing chapter as you think back to like, damn, like, it took you like 5 chapters to beat the Scabbards. Like, Yamato held you up for that long, like his feats just don't look very good in comparison to anything we're seeing now. And then I think maybe the last argument he would have had is like durability. Like, damn, Kaido can tank a lot of damage. But now I think Loki's probably at least as good in that department now. Like Imu just fucking like ignore, like Loki was already very damaged before this fight started, right? So it was established that he was close to death's door. And then in this fight with Imu, he takes so much damage, it's insane. He literally gets fucking impaled. Like, this is crazy stuff. So I don't really know what the argument for Loki... I don't know what the argument for Kaido versus Loki is. And I guess the last argument might be like the world's strongest creature title, but now we know that that's not a real title. It was established to never be a real title because Oda had the narrator say, this is his reputation. Like, people say that Kaido is the world's strongest creature. Not that Kaido is the world's strongest creature. But now it's obvious that Imu's... like, Kaido was never the world's strongest creature, right? So the title we know is not a real thing. So there's not really... I just don't know what the argument would be for Kaido versus Loki, Attack on Titan, I haven't finished the ending, so I don't know. I should probably watch the anime if that. I heard people like the anime ending better than the manga. DuckDuck2166, did you see the recent Fujimoto interview? I thought he was pretty tasteless to romanticize extreme poverty. Fujimoto is just a tasteless dude, so I don't know what to say. Yeah, it is tasteless to romanticize extreme poverty, for sure. I have not seen the recent interview. Ison2339, thanks for the 10. Emu equals Dominion. You need to be a tool to make contracts. That's why Herald was the exception. That's also why the Straw Hats will probably have multiple Conqueror's Haki users besides Zoro to highlight these ideas. Yeah, I think that'll be that'll be interesting to explore for sure. But Emu does have a lot of Conqueror's Haki users underneath him, like the Gorsei. Taptir Treviso 9415, thanks for the 2. Before Nika Gear 3 adds mass with air, still bull. I think that I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see Luffy bust out some new stuff in this fight, because it does seem like, I feel like Luffy's gonna do... Here's the thing. Let me be clear. If next chapter, because I'm always willing to revise my opinions on power scaling, I promise. If next chapter, let's say Luffy comes out and does a way better job than Loki, and not just a better job because, like, let's say Emu's magic just doesn't work against Nika, like a NL situation where it's just a terrible matchup, right? But let's say just straight up Emu's boxing, like Luffy's boxing with Emu much better than Loki, then I would revise things about my Kaido opinion versus Loki, unless it's clear that Luffy is now a lot stronger or doing a lot of things that he wasn't doing during the Kaido fight. Does that make sense? Essentially, if it looks like we get the same sort of showing out of Luffy right now that we saw when Luffy was fighting Kaido, like pretty much the same dude, right? No clear big jump or power up, and then Luffy does way better against Emu than Loki, then I might be like, okay, never mind. We need to revise Loki's whole place in this general hierarchy. Maybe we put him too high too fast. At the same time, Loki is really nerfed right now, so he's extremely injured. He's not using his hybrid form. I don't know. There's other things to take into account there. So maybe if Oda shows that nerfed Loki is equal to Luffy, then like if Luffy does a similar job against Emu as Loki is doing right now, then obviously Loki's way stronger because, again, Loki is nerfed right now, right? So nerfed, like severely injured Loki being equal to Luffy suggests that full strength Loki's way stronger, right? But then the last thing I would say is just that from what we've seen so far, right, just to put things into perspective, last we saw of Luffy, he was struggling with Warcury. He had to run. He could not damage Warcury. He had to run away from Warcury. Right? So right away, I'm not saying that Luffy couldn't beat Warcury if he really put his mind to it and tried to figure out the matchup or whatever. But just one arc ago, we already kind of saw where Luffy falls, which is like, yeah, he's not clear of the Gorosei necessarily or anything conclusively just yet, you know? At least the stronger Gorosei, right? So if you kind of just look at Luffy versus Warcury and then compare that to Loki's showing against Emu this chapter, a very injured Loki, mind you, it's just like, it seems like there should be a huge gap between where Luffy is right now to where Loki is right now, right? Now, Oda's not always consistent with how he shows things, so maybe Oda doesn't even think about that Warcury situation. I don't know, but I'm just saying from what we last saw, Luffy's kind of, he's not clear of the Gorosei definitively just yet, right? Like, not definitively clear of the Gorosei, right? Emu's a million times fucking stronger than them, and Loki, in base while very injured, is still putting up a fight, right? So, you know, if you put Loki against Warcury, it would just be a massacre, right? So we kind of, but that's just how things appear at the moment, right? You never know, like, Luffy's kind of hyping himself up to, like, go harder than ever before. So you know, Luffy could easily show up Loki next chapter